So today we're going to be talking about collab trips, everything it entails, all the dirty details, and the collab trips we've been on, the collab trips we'd like to go on, and the collab trip we're on now, the collab trip that we created.
So the first collab trip that I ever went on was Puerto Vallarta, and you were on that trip as well.
I was on that trip, yeah.
And
That trip.
and it was quite an intense trip to go on because there was 70 creators invited.
Too many.
Yeah, there was a lot of like big names there, big egos, and it was quite intense.
It was extremely intense.
Yeah.
And I just felt like it was so mixed up. So everyone was like there in different like villas, different hotels. Everyone was here, there and everywhere. And I just felt it was really not like organized as well. It wasn't for me.
No, I prefer a collab trip where we're all staying in the same villa so we can all connect with each other on a deeper level instead of just setting up a collab and you just turn up and meet them on the day.
Yeah.
There was a couple of cool things, like we got to go to an exclusive private beach and produce content there, and that's something that you don't really get to do very often.
That was nice, apart from having to douche in the sea.
Yeah. Or have no douching facilities at all.
Not even a fucking bathroom whatsoever.
So you had to load up on Imodiums beforehand and really make sure that you weren't eating that day to make sure there was no accidents.
I literally ate a burrito right before I got on the boat.
I can't do that. Oh my God. If I did that, I would definitely have an accident.
Shit all over that dick.
But unfortunately, I couldn't use any of the content there because OnlyFans doesn't really allow content that's produced on a beach because they think that it's going to be illegal type content.
Yeah.
Public
So for
content.
people who don't know, on OnlyFans, you can't actually post content if it's deemed as like public. Yeah, that's a bit shit.
Yeah, even though it was exclusive and private.
Well, I put
that was
mine up.
unfortunate.
I just put like in the caption, like private beach.
I've also heard if you put like a 5-second black section at the front of the video, the algorithm can't determine whether it's outdoors or not because it just looks at the thumbnail.
Yeah.
Just a tip for other creators out there.
Cheating the system there.
Yeah, checking the system.
But no, it was a bit of a weird collab trip because it was very heavily advertised, very heavily like
Branded.
in the press, branded as, and it was super branded, and it was super branded with, you know, a person who is now in prison.
Yeah, thank God neither of us collabed with
Yeah, thank God. I had such a weird vibe from the moment I got there, and he was asking me to collab. We won't say the name, but like, I'm sure everyone knows. He was asking you to collab like the whole time he was on that trip. And I had such a weird vibe. I was like, I don't really want to do it. And neither of us collabed with him on that trip, thank God.
Yeah, I had scheduled something with him. Like, I was new to the industry. I just started collaborating with other creators that year. And obviously, he's a big name. And I was interested in doing something with him just because of the clout.
Yeah.
But we didn't end up scheduling anything in the end. But I think that's the universe looking out for me and making sure that that didn't happen.
Absolutely.
But like for me, it was a good experience because I got to meet like other creators and really get into like a good rhythm with a bunch of different types of content as well, and a good networking opportunity, which is really like the best thing about a collab trip.
Yeah, there was a lot of cool people on there, but there was a lot of the gay baiters on the trip, and for me, it was just actually there was more like gay for pay, gay beta content creators than there was actual gay content creators. So for me, it was like, it's a bit of a waste of time.
And from that trip, we really wanted to create gay safe spaces.
Yeah, that trip is like what inspired me to like want to start creating trips that are like fully gay, gay safe spaces, you know, and you know, where everyone's like up for it, everyone's going to be like doing a lot more, you get a lot more, what's it called? A lot more substance in your films. Do you know what I mean? It's not just like, hey bro, you want to jerk off next to each other? No, I don't.
Or like a erotic massage or
Fucking
a PT session.
Why don't you worship my big muscles?
Yeah.
Fuck off.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, you know, some people like that kind of content, but for us, it's not really what we prefer to do.
Yeah, I don't think it's what my fans want.
No.
And
I don't enjoy watching that myself either.
I don't enjoy doing it either.
Yeah.
Like, God, seeing a straight man like flex like that and be like, yeah, worship my muscles. I'm like, no.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to create content that I would like to watch myself. Not that I do really, like obviously because it's me, but
I watch my own.
it depends. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't.
I edit mine and I'm like,
Yeah. Sometimes I get horny editing some of it, for sure.
Yeah,
for
yeah.
sure. And then from Puerto Vallarta, you planned the collab trip in Marbella.
I did, yeah. So, like, from the trauma of the Puerto Vallarta trip, I was like, I want to create a safe space, like a gay trip that's just all gay guys and people I know and like respect in the industry. And so I brought a group of us together. I think there was like 10 of us.
Yeah.
And it was such a small, well, it wasn't a small villa. But it was in a really small town in like the hills in Marbella. There was literally nothing around. And, like there was nowhere to go. You know, I was like, there was
Quite isolated.
because I felt in the Mexico trip, it was like everyone was going out every night getting fucking wasted. And then it was like, do you want to collab? And then they were like sleeping all day. Like, you just missed your collab and you're like, what the fuck?
Well, I turned up to a collab in Puerto Vallarta and the creator hadn't slept for 2 days. He looked like he hadn't slept for a week.
Fucking
and
zombie.
I just walked straight out because I don't want to work with anyone that
Don't want to
is
fuck
like
with
that.
No.
No, like I like to work with professional creators that aren't into, you know, just turning up after 3-day bender.
3-day Brenda.
3-day Brenda.
Come on, Brenda. No, yeah. So I wanted to create that safe space.
Yeah.
And I wanted to do it like kind of remote. So not like any of the guys that I brought there would be like, you know, going on 3-day benders. But I just thought if you put it in the middle of nowhere in a small town in like the mountains of Marbella, there's not really an option for people to like, go and, you know, go off and get fucked up or whatever. But it was really nice. It was like a family kind of vibe. We all cooked for each other and it was like every evening, well, I say we all cooked for each other. I think Marvy's cooked like every night. He was fucking fantastic.
He was like the momager of the
week. He was like the most animated chef. He'd turn up in his fucking gowns
and gloves, elbow gloves, and a whole look. But he's like a fashion queen for sure.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt this gorgeous episode, but I couldn't help but say that posting nudes isn't a business strategy, but the ofbizschool.com is. The ofbizschool.com teaches you exactly how to turn your OnlyFans into a money-making machine. Marketing, branding, content strategy, make sense, and dollars. Sign up to the ofbizschool.com, follow the steps, and let's just say OnlyFans will be paying your rent. So if you want to stop struggling and start thriving, go to the ofbizschool.com. Trust me, your bank account will thank you. Now back to the episode.
That was the second trip I went on, and we'd been chatting about Marbella and you wanting to create a gay-only content trip. And from my perspective, it really felt like just a group of mates hanging out for the week.
Yeah.
And everyone was very professional. We got some like amazing content out of it. There was a photographer there.
Yeah.
And it was a really great experience. And especially that being my second one following Puerto Vallarta, it really inspired me that we can create other content trips like that.
Yeah.
And since then, we've done Tulum, and now we're in Bali.
Yeah.
And when we were in Tulum, I remember you looked at me and you said, where do you want to go next? And because like that was our second one really doing it together.
Yeah.
It was great to see that you wanted to really continue doing it with me. And I decided to take the reins on the Bali trip because I'm Australian and it's the closest place, you know, to us. So we're here
I'm
for
terrible at organizing things, seriously, terrible. And I felt like Tulum was enough for me to organize. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like everything it entailed. And I thought if I organized Bali, we'd be staying in a fucking, you know, a hostel.
Well, also for Tulum, we were given like 2 or 3 weeks notice.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
And then, but I mean, like for me, like I can pick up and go whenever. Like I don't mind like a last minute trip and being spontaneous like that.
Yeah, Bali's a bit different though.
For someone like Bali, it's so remote for many people. Like we needed to give everyone at least like 2 months notice, and we were able to organize 17 days in Bali. We've got about 22 creators in total coming for the 17 days, 5 villas. Like it was a lot. There's a lot of.
I was like, when you said 17 days, I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I was like, oh, how am I going to do 17 days? But now that I'm here and it's what, like day 5, I'm like, I am actually glad we're here for that long because it's just, we're fitting in so much already. but also we don't have that time pressure of like, oh my God, we've got to squeeze in like all this, like
You don't feel rushed.
yeah, you don't feel rushed at all. And it's so nice to have like week 1 and week 2 where we have different creators coming in, because then you just don't get like, you obviously get much more content out of it, and then you get like a fresh group of people and even like a totally new experience.
Well, even this compared to Puerto Vallarta, like sometimes when you're just in Puerto Vallarta, like when we're in Puerto Vallarta, we were filming like 2 or 3 collabs a day. Yeah. And that's like, 1, it's not healthy. 2, you don't really get the same quality of content if you're just doing like 1 a day, for example, or if you're just skipping, you know, giving yourself a break in between collabs. And I enjoy that better. So I just think that doing it for an extended period of time is going to mean that we're going to get more content, better quality. And yeah, I just think that's a better way to do it, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, in Tulum, it was crazy because I knew that we were there for 7 days, and there was like 25 creators or something like that. And there was one day I did like 5 collabs in a day, and I was like, it was like fucking 7 p.m. and I was like, wow, I can finally eat. I hadn't eaten all day. Yeah. And literally by the last one, I was like on borderline passing out, you know. I don't think people realize how like physically and mentally draining it is to film all of these things. And yeah, I think people just think we come on these trips, have a jolly and like, you know, have loads of sex, but it's so physically demanding.
100%.
And mentally draining as well. Like it takes something from you after every scene, because you're not just having sex with someone for pleasure or enjoyment. Like you're thinking of the angles, you're literally positioning your body in angles that you would never in normal sex, which is really physically straining. You're not doing it for comfortability, you're doing it for the camera, and you're doing it for like other people's pleasure and not really yours. So it's so, demanding physically and mentally as well by the end of it, like having to think about all these angles, having to think about every position that you have to do, having to think about having enough content or having enough minutes of content in that like video. So you're always thinking, has it been 40 minutes yet? Like, or has it been 30 minutes yet? Like, do you know what I mean? And so it's fucking draining.
Yeah, and especially for my first content trip, I would go home at the end of every day and I would have dinner and I would just go straight to bed because I was just so physically drained and I just didn't want to see anyone. I didn't want to socialize. I had a boyfriend at the time and I wasn't able to like give him any energy because I was just completely drained. And my lower back was just like on fire. Because the thing about like when we're filming, like you said, with the positions that we put ourselves in, you're constantly like having to arch your back for photos and videos. And I just wasn't used to that. So, I've gotten into a better routine with how to stretch and prepare before and after a scene and a collab trip to make sure that I'm physically more prepared for.
And we have to do the fucking gym as well. It's like gym and you're sore from the gym. And then you do however many collabs and it's rough.
Yeah. And I make sure that before every trip that I'm on like a bulking diet because when you come to a collab trip, because you're not really eating consistently, sometimes I won't even eat until 6, 7, 10 o'clock at night, depending on the times of the shoot and everyone's availability. I could lose like 10 kilos in the week.
Slay.
So, I mean, it makes me really snatched and shredded during the week. But I definitely don't shred. Like a lot of people like to shred before something like that. But the thing is you come back like a twig.
Yeah. Me. Come back looking like me.
Yeah.
Twiggy.
So how else do you prepare for a trip?
How else do I prepare for a trip? A lot of gym, a lot of mental preparation as well. Like having to hype myself up for it as well. Because I have a lot of mood swings and having to like be around people socially all the time. My social battery is like one of the batteries you get from Poundland. Do you know what I mean? It's not an Energizer bunny. It's a Poundland battery and it depletes like very quickly like that. So having to like, I don't know, even when I'm on the trips, I'm having to like meditate and just like be like, come on, back in the room. It's fucking difficult.
Yeah, it's good to check in with yourself too. Make sure that you are going to be mentally stable on the trip and kind of, get in touch with yourself about what the trip is going to look like. I like to schedule a lot of things before the trip just because in my mind, if I'm able to schedule ahead of time, I can plan accordingly. I can plan outfits. I can plan concepts depending on where we're staying and the different rooms that are available. Like, for example, if we have a tennis court or something, I'll make sure I bring like a tennis outfit and come up with a concept. Yeah. Just things like that. Because like, if you do rock up and you don't really have outfits or things that you can, I mean, we're shooting porn, so you don't necessarily need to have an outfit. But for me, I like to produce a lot of social media content on the trips as well.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just isolated to producing adult orientated content.
Yeah. And I think people don't understand the volume of work that we do every day.
Yeah.
Because it's like, we have to get, you know, the adult content, you have to get the pictures, then you have to get the social media, like PG content to go with that, to advertise the adult content. And the reels, the TikToks, the pictures, everything, the Twitter trailers. It's just like all day fucking activity. Do you know what I mean?
And in addition to, you know, all that stuff, I make sure that I've packed enough supplements and enough vitamins, because like, I'm the kind of person that has like a AM, PM pill organizer for every single day.
Fucking old.
Just because like that helps me like maintain my physical and mental stability and health. And so I make sure I'm preparing all of that. I go to the doctor, make sure I'm getting STI checkups, and also take doxycycline while I'm on trips to reduce the amount of exposure I may have to STIs.
Yeah.
Do you do that?
Yeah, DoxyPep. Yeah. DoxyPep was kind of a relatively new thing for us content creators, but you take like a pill or two a day and it just gives you, I think it's like 50 to 60% kind of more cover for syphilis, gonorrhea, and chlamydia. And then obviously we take PrEP as well.
Yeah. So. Yeah. And PrEP.
99%.
Yeah. So the thing is about STIs on these trips, I've never come back from a trip with any STI.
Oh my God.
Touch wood.
Touch wood.
But I'll go hook up with someone just casually and I'll get something. So
it's always the way though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like before I had a boyfriend, you would go, like you could have sex with like 20, 25 people on a trip. And then you'd go home, you'd have sex with one randomer in your city and you'd literally be riddled.
100%.
It's just the way it goes. I think, you know, I think a lot of people comment about our sexual health, like they know what's going on or whatever. But if you really think about it, we're probably safer than most people. We test ourselves regularly. Like, I get myself tested like every 2 weeks when I'm collabing. And then we're just much safer than the average Joe. I think a lot of people don't test that much. And we take like the most precautions that we can to like keep ourselves away from STIs. And people are like, oh yeah, you're probably riddled. And like, we fucking ain't, because we actually really take care of our sexual health.
I feel like I'm always at the doctor getting a checkup, because I might even like feel like something or like an itch or a whatever. And I automatically think the worst. But yeah, at least trying to go every 2 to 3 months for me.
Yeah. I'm like every 2 weeks.
While we're in Bali, like we're not only just doing collaborations and that type of stuff, we also explored the island. And yesterday we went to a waterfall, we went to a temple, and participated in a water ritual, which was amazing.
Yeah, we literally exorcised all the demons inside of us. I'm not sure all of the demons, because I still can hear a few, but there's a few less, so that's always good. It was really nice though, actually. All of you were like, no, we're not doing that, we'll go somewhere else, and I was like, no, we're doing this. And then everyone after was like, thanks for like pushing us into that, because it was so fucking cool. We literally, there was these like fountains and this like huge spiritual like bath. It's like, kind of looks like a Roman bath, but like all Indonesian.
With spouts coming out of the wall.
Spouts coming out, and there was like 13, and we had to do 10 of them. And he said, like, you have to go in, you have to do the specific ritual, and then you have to make a wish on each spout. But you can't, there's 2 spouts you can't do because they're for a funeral. And I remember Tim, I'd looked around and Tim was doing the funeral one, and I was like, it's your fucking funeral, Alf.
Yeah, I made sure to avoid those ones.
Yeah, I was like, I literally, as soon as he said those ones are funerals, I was like, if I do that, I'm going to die. I was literally like that. But no, you had to do this specific ritual. So you had to go up to this spout of water. You had to do the prayer thing above your head. Then you splash your face 3 times with the water. and then you put your hands on the wall and you dunk your head under the water for as long as you want, and then you have to make a wish.
Like 10 different times.
Yeah, like 10 different times. There was 10 spouts. And then there was one more spout or 2 more spouts after, which he said that's the most important one because it was like karma or something.
Future.
Karma and future.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was such a gorgeous day, and we had to wear these cute little sarongs, very Christmassy.
Well, it's green sarongs with a red sash.
Yeah, it was like a little Christmas present wrapped up in a bow. But I mean, if you follow our social media, you'll probably see these fucking
everywhere for the next 3 months.
Everywhere for the next 3 months. Yeah. No, but it was a lovely day. It was really, really nice. And then we went to dinner. Like, yesterday was the day off, which is nice. And I think our collab trips, we like to organize these little day trips to give everyone a day off, give everyone time to like decompress and bond, and just, you know, if there's any tension, people get it out and whatever.
Yeah, it's just a day where there's no pressure, no work. We get to just hang out like mates and exactly develop those friendships. But the other great thing that I love about a content trip is we can film, you know, 10, 12, like a bulk amount of collabs. And then if you don't want to, you don't have to film for sometimes up to 3 months. That for me is great, because then I don't have to worry about filming. I don't have to schedule anything. If I don't want to travel internationally for collabs, and I don't have to, being Australian, there's not a huge amount of Australian creators. So I'm always having to travel internationally to work. So for me, it's great to come to a trip where everyone's together. We can really curate a great group of creators to work with. And then if I don't want to, I don't need to film for many, many months.
Yeah, and that's it's like amazing for me, because it's like having a boyfriend. It's nice to like get that all like out of the way. I still would do like collabs here and there, like in between. But it's nice to have a period of like where I can just be with my boyfriend, you know, like where sexually it's just us two. So it's so lovely to come on these trips, get everything out of the way, and then for the next 3 months I could just be with my boyfriend and, you know, wholesome boyfriend girlfriend time.
Yeah, you can spend time with your partner. You can spend time working on other business projects if OnlyFans isn't your only, you know, business as well.
And we are business women.
We are business women. So for me, that's the best part about it. And I like to do at least 4 collab trips a year just to make sure that we're still updating content consistently. But besides that, I rarely film in between. So that works well for me, because it also helps preserve my mental state as well. Because I find that like filming all the time, you can really get run down and burnt out. So that's one of the biggest benefits for me too. Yeah,
it burns me the fuck out, because also when I don't do these collab trips, I also don't know when to stop. So I'm like collabing all the time, and it's just like every time someone offers, I'll say yes. And then I just get into a point where I'm like collabing like 4 or 5 days a week for months. And then I'm just like, what the fuck is happening? And I just can't say no, because it's like people visit London and they're like, oh, I'm here in London. And I'm like, for fuck's sake. And then I'm like, how long are you here for? And they're like, oh, 2 days. And I'm like, okay, so I'm going to have to do it today or tomorrow. And I just can't say no. So when I've done these collab trips, it's nice, because I'm just like, do you know what? Fuck you. I'll see you some other time. I'm fucking tired.
Well, where I live in Australia, there's no gay scene. I'm not living in Sydney anymore. So
she's not a Sydney gay anymore.
No, I'm not. I've moved on to a new
She's a changed woman.
But I did that because when I go back to my home now, I can just really focus on marketing the content that we produce on the collab trips, working on the account, chatting to my subscribers, really focus on that stuff and not be distracted by anything else, including partying and all the other stuff that goes along with living in a big city and being surrounded by the gays all the time.
Yeah, it's difficult. Living in London it's kind of similar. You know, you get hooked into the party lifestyle and it gets a bit much.
But when new girls this year?
New girls. I'm sober this year. Sober.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah. Even the other night we went to dinner, I thought that you may have wanted to order a cocktail, but you ordered a sparkling water.
I did, yeah. No, I'm on a sober journey now, which is fantastic. Last year was like a lot for me. I got really heavily into partying, and it got so much that I was like, it was to the point where I was like, if I continue doing this, I'm going to die. Do you know what I mean? And then I was like, absolutely, it just got to the point where my body and my mind was like telling me, no, if this doesn't change, it's going to be really, really bad for you. So I was like, it was like the day after Christmas. I was so depressed and my body was just fucking tired and everything was just saying no. And I was like, do you know what? I'm going to go sober. I'm going to do it teetotal. And I have done since then. So fingers crossed, I'm not putting like too much pressure on myself, but I think it's the healthier way to go. And I'm so much more motivated with work and everything like that.
I've noticed a huge difference.
Yeah.
Like you've always been a go-getter. You've always been someone that is incredibly creative and really wants to make the most out of life. And I think since you've become sober, especially doing these collab trips this time around, you've just been like you've been up at 6 a.m. You're always out there with the coffee. You're up before anyone else. You're in the pool. You're exercising. You're scheduling your collabs. You're doing all this other, projects that we're working on at the moment. And that really shows me, because we're working together on the podcast as well, that, that you're in it 100% and that you're not going to get distracted. Like, I think we can all agree that as soon as you start drinking and partaking and partying and drugs and stuff, like
Drop the ball.
you drop the ball
Yeah.
and you can spend days just kind of like in a fuzz.
Yeah, you just care less. That's the thing. Like when I was like drinking, doing drugs and stuff, like it just, you've got work to do, but you just care less about it. And you're just like, oh, I'll leave it for like, in a few days when I'm feeling better. And it's not the way I want to live. It's not the way I want to work.
Yeah.
I want to be able to be motivated and be on top of it all the time so I can like further my career. There's so many dreams and like so many projects that I have and I've had for years, but because I've been that way, it's always been put on the back burner. So now's the time where I'm like, I'm sober, I'm fucking motivated, and I'm going to do all these dreams and projects and I'm going to smash them. And I'm so motivated to do that. And it's amazing. Like if anyone wants to try being sober, you should fucking do it, because I feel invigorated. I feel like more me than I've ever felt. And being British, and I think you probably understand being Australian as well, such a big drinking culture.
Oh, 100%.
And like, from a young age, way too young, I was like drinking. So I feel like I've spent most of my like teen adult life just drinking it away. And I haven't really known what it's like to be just myself without like having a weekend. I haven't had a weekend off of drinking or maybe even drugs, like for as long as I can remember. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, when did I have a day off? And then now, like going months without doing anything, I finally feel like I know who I am sober. I know who I am and know how motivated and like how my work ethic can be so much more productive and so much more just me,
Well, before I started to do OnlyFans full time in 2023, I was in the same state. I was partying a lot, drinking a lot. Every weekend, it felt like there was a party or something that I needed to attend. And I got way too caught up in that scene.
Yeah, you get the FOMO.
A lot of the people around me were becoming addicts and really going down the wrong path. And I found that doing OnlyFans, and it's probably different to what the perception might be from the public. They probably think that because we do OnlyFans, we're just partying and doing all that stuff all the time.
Yeah.
But for me, that was an option that I was able to take because it allowed me to, one, move out of Sydney and get out of that environment. And then also just focus on what really mattered to me and give myself some space to be sober and focus on my fitness, my business, and just like my family, honestly.
Yeah.
And I found that like I've become a lot healthier. I'm a lot more focused in the projects that we're doing as well, and a lot happier.
I feel like there's such there's stigma on OnlyFans or like adult creators, adult stars in general. And I think it's quite an old misconception, because I feel like back in my day when I started porn, like literally it was like 11 years ago, I think it was there was that stereotypical porn star where they were just partying all the time. And it was kind of that industry, it was like, that was what you did. But I think now that OnlyFans creators have come around, it's not just this it's not this porn lifestyle. I think there's a new generation of like creator lifestyle where it's like a lot of people are doing OnlyFans, creating content. They're traveling all over the world, but they're also focusing on fitness, well-being, health. And I think there's such a new movement where you get so much control over your own money, your own content, who you want to work with. And I think part of that is because you get to control everything.
Yeah.
And you can take the reins, and there's no, because I think the part of the bad thing and the bad thing for mental health about studio porn was when I started is you don't get any control, any say. So it was like, no matter what your preferences were, it would be like, oh, you're going to work with him today and you're going to bottom. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, well, I don't fancy this guy and I don't want to bottom right now. So you had no choice. And that gives you like instant, like mental health kind of issues where you're just feeling forced into doing something. And you're like, I don't want to do this. But if I say no, they'll just be like, oh, we'll give the scene to someone else then.
Yeah.
And that's the way it was. And I needed the fucking money at the time. I was a poor little bastard. So yeah, that really fucks with your mental health. And I think that leads to a lifestyle where you're just kind of trying to numb the pain, you're partying. I think that was the old porn lifestyle, but OnlyFans creators now, we get to choose.
Well, OnlyFans creators, if you want to look at it this way, are sole traders. Like they're entrepreneurs, they're managing their own business affairs. It's not just that they're just posting stuff on social media and looking pretty and traveling the world and having a great time. If they don't work hard, they don't get paid either.
Yeah, that's
so. If you're partying and hungover all the time, you don't want to work, you're not going to make money.
Yeah.
So the boys that are able to focus on their business and avoid drinking and avoid partying are the ones that are becoming the most successful.
Exactly.
Because they're putting in more than the others.
Yeah.
So that for me was a realization even last year, because I'd been traveling a lot since I left Sydney and partying here and there. And there would be weeks sometimes where I just couldn't be bothered to post or couldn't be bothered to really invest as much time as I should have in that business. And they were the months where I didn't, where I underperformed and I didn't get paid compared to other months.
Yeah.
And even last month, so I've been doing OnlyFans for 4 years. Last month was my best month ever. And some people think that the first couple of months when you started out that it's going to be your best month and then it's going to drop off.
Yeah. I mean, it depends how hard you work, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if you're sober and if you're really focused on making the most out of OnlyFans, you can really have a sustainable business and longevity. And yeah, it was cool to see that 4 years on, I'm making more money than ever.
Yeah. Mine, like since August last year, you can see the months that I was like, an absolute train wreck partying, because it was like you can just see it in the figures. And like and it also takes a while to claw it back as well, because like you don't pay attention to your subscribers, you're not making like enough content or the quality of content they're used to, and then you just see it in my figures. It's just like it plummeted, and now like you're clawing it back. So it's like I've only just kind of clawed back to where I was, or where not where I want to be, but where I was before. And that took me like 3 months to claw that back. It's yeah. So it pays to be, focused and sober.
Yeah. And it's not just about posting pretty photos, it's about strategy.
Yeah.
And if you're able to implement a great strategy and a great system and a great schedule around posting and being in the account, managing the chats with the subscribers and all of that kind of stuff, you can really see the effort that you put in and be rewarded by that too.
Yeah. I mean, like since I've become sober and I've started really putting the work in, like I've got my collabs like queued, already uploaded until mid-March. So like obviously I need to speak to subscribers and DMs and stuff, but I don't need to upload anything until like the end of mid-March, because it's all just queued, all uploaded, ready to go, and on a timed release. So I'm like, fuck yeah, just live my life. But it's good because like when I come on this trip, we're here for 17 days. I don't need to worry about uploading because it's already done. It's already there in the cloud, ready to go on timer release. And that for me, I'm so proud of myself, getting that all sorted, because back in the day, I would have not been able to do that.
Yeah, I find that scheduling as well, it's takes a lot of the responsibility off your plate. You can really just focus on other things. And putting that in place just means that you can, come on trips like this. You don't have to worry about it as much, because when you are on a collab trip, you aren't going to be, sometimes I don't even know what day it is on a collab trip, you know?
Seriously.
So
I thought it was Wednesday the other day.
Yeah. So scheduling it ahead of time just means that you can kind of like, one, you can still provide consistency and quality to your subscribers by doing that. But then also you just know that, that there's that peace of mind there too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, doll. Shall we wrap up?
Back to it.
Yeah. Back to work?
Yes, I've got a collab.
I've got a collab.
You've got a collab. Well. It's collab central around here.
Well, I'll see you here next week.
Yeah.
Love ya.
Tune in next week for our next episode about sucking dick. No, I'm joking. What is next week's episode?
Tune in next week for another episode of In Bed with Jay and Josh.
With the biggest OnlyFans husbands in the game.